Okay, so welcome everyone. Today we will be learning how you can prevent the session fixation attack in your web applications. Okay, so we will see how you will be preventing them, how you can mitigate them, and how you can secure against this sort of attacks, this session based related vulnerabilities. So first of all, you have to understand what is session fixation. So here the attacker tricks the user. Okay, so for example, the user will log into their application. Okay, and let's say the attacker might be stealing the session, or maybe the attacker tricks the user by sending the a link, or he might have compromised the user's browsers. Okay, and he is manipulating the session. And that means the attacker is manipulating the session. Okay, mainly, and the session is now fixed. Okay, now the session is fixed. Like how it is being done, it is being through mostly through malicious links, okay, or through cross-site scripting, one of the most dangerous type of attacks. Okay, it can affect a lot. If access has been found in a website, it can reveal session cookies very easily. Okay, now as usual, the impact for the session fixation attack will be account compromise as usual. So what is this vulnerability? So the vulnerability arises when a pre-existing session id is already like is used. Okay, the user's legitimate login validates it. So there is a pre-existing session id. Okay, this should have been removed, it is not removed. But now when the user logs in, okay, it now the session id will be valid, the old session id, cause the user has logged in, because there was some issue with that web application. That's why this grants the attacker access to his account, to the user's account, or to the victim's account, you can also say. A really serious security flaw. So how can you mitigate? So first of all, mitigation you can do with generating new session ids during the login phase. So first of all, the user will access the site. Okay, now generally what happen? Attacker provides a session ID and the user clicks the malicious link, right? Then what? User will log in. So when user logins, the authentication will happen, and the session ID is still that old one. Okay, the session ID is the old one. Now we need to generate new ID after login in. It should create a new session ID so that the old ID becomes invalid. Okay, if the old id becomes invalid, the attacker automatically loses the control to access the victim session or user session. So the user is safe now. I think you have seen this in banking websites. Okay, mostly like if you refresh their web page, you will be logged out. Okay, you will be instantly logged out. But let's say when you try to log back in, it will say the session is active. So the session now needs to be first removed from the server. Okay, that means the session id, and it takes around like 5 minutes of inactivity, then it will automatically log out. You are safe from that side, by the way, because it is really hard to get that session token back. Moving on, how you can mitigate through cookie attributes. Okay, there are some cookie attributes you will see in the tab, like HTTP only attribute, which prevents client side script access. Okay, and here is like you can see, you can set it to true. Okay, you can set secure attribute to true. So when you do this, this will secure the session cookies. Moving on, how you will validate the session data. So store some user additional information in the session. Okay, like why you are doing it, you are doing it because you are enhancing the security checks. You might validate the ip, okay, user agent, and other stuff, like where the user is trying to log from which country or from which device. So you have to verify that on each and every request. Now detect suspicious activity, like for example, IP changes, here it is saying IP changes mid session, or two users are trying to log at the same time. So these are suspicious activity. Okay. Now after that, what you can do also is strict validation reduces the chances. Okay, it will prevent unauthorized access also. So reduce the attacker's success, so he won't be able to like properly, let's say, brute force and other stuff. Moving on, you have to you have to implement session timeout also. Set timeout. Invalid session will for example, let's say you are not in, you are not in your web application, or let's say your banking application. Okay, it is inactive for 5 minutes, so it should logged out automatically, because you are not using it, because there is a harm if that application stays logged in for a long time. Now how can you configure the log time, lifetime or timeout time? So you can do it in here, as you can see with PHP. You can set the max lifetime to be 1800, so divide by 60, you will find your real times. So this is in seconds, by the way. Okay. Enforce expiry. So you should regularly expire the session, that means the session ID mainly, and renew whenever it is necessary for the active user. So if a user logs in, or if the user is active, so you will just uh, ex- you will remove the old session ID, try to generate a new one and send it to the user, like assign it to the user. Okay. Limit the attack window. So after you do this, this will reduce the attacker's opportunity of of trying to compromise a user's account. Okay. This will also minimize the risk of compromise. Now there are some best practices and frameworks protection that you can follow. Okay. Leverage framework, utilize built-in session management features. Okay. Rely on battle tested codes, there are some frameworks that are present out there. Okay, you can take help from them. Okay, and build your own code, like this should be really secure. Also regularly update your web application. Then there is content security policy. If you implement this properly, you can mitigate cross-site scripting attacks really effectively. And as always, do proper security audits. Okay, if you do proper security audits, you will find vulnerabilities really easily for a web application or any application out there. Okay. Until and unless you do proper audit, like security audit, you won't be able to find vulnerability. Let's say some attacker finds a 0-day vulnerability, he can totally compromise your application, let's say, if the 0-day vulnerability is really critical. So in conclusion, session fixation, this vulnerability, okay, is really crucial for you to fix. So you can combine the techniques, you can combine the multiple techniques that I've told you for robust defense. And as always, continuous monitoring and updates are essential for your software lifecycle also. Like if you want to make your web application to stand out more, okay, if you want to make it more secure, you have to get the compliance certificates. If you are like a bank industry, you should get PCI DSS. If you are a health industry, you should get HIPAA. If you are working in Europe, you will get GDPR and other stuff. Okay. Well, this was it for today for session fixation prevention. So if you have any queries, any questions, you can leave it in the comment box.